Hey everyone, it's Joe Waxman. And today I want to talk about something different. I want to talk about the Pluto and Libra generation, of which I am one of Gen X, Gen Xers. I'm not going to talk about the whole Gen X astrology because that's too much to cover in one video. Because it covers I looked into, I mean, the astrology. I was actually thinking of making a Gen X video, but the astrology is like, it covers, multiple different, outer planets in signs. And that's way too much to do in one video. So I'm going to parse it out. Right now, I want to talk about Pluto and Libra. Because I've watched a bunch of different Pluto and Libra videos, and I wasn't really satisfied with any of them. I think people misunderstand Pluto and Libra. They think it's just like a sign where, Pluto is really weak in, or it's just all about relationships. And it's so generic. I mean, everyone has relationships, whether you have Pluto and Libra or not. And it's all like, oh, Pluto and Libra is going to have a lot of relationships, and they're going to want relationships, and they're going to be all about relationships. And it's like, oh my, no, it's so generic. It just basically means nothing. So let's look at it a little bit. All right. So what is Pluto? Pluto is the most outer planet that we generally use. There are other outer planets. There are further ones. Eris is another one that's further out, but Pluto's like one of the main planets that we use that is the most far out there. It rules Scorpio, or co-rules it with Mars. And the way I see outer planets, and the way a lot of people see them, is that these are what are considered transpersonal planets, meaning that they don't have a direct impact on our personal on our personality, on our surface personality. They're much deeper. They go much deeper. They are much more about non-physical things, spiritual things, energetic things, psychological things, right? And so Pluto, especially when if you're looking at Scorpio, the rulership of Scorpio, and you compare Mars to Pluto, Mars rules the physicality, the aggression, the passion, the physical body, the muscles, the tissues, the actual act of sex or fighting. Pluto is all those things on an energetic level. It is passion, but non-physical passion, non-realized, not physically realized passion, or like desire, you could say, even beyond passion. Passion is more Mars. Pluto is more like desire, right? Desire for power and control. And it is deeply perceptual and insightful, psychological. Pluto is the planet that allows you to see through into the depths of reality, right? If somebody's Pluto is very well developed, you're not going to be able to lie to them. And if you lie to them once, forget it. They will never trust you again, because that's very important to them. That's very important to Scorpio as well, but that's the Pluto influence, right? And they're going to be able to, that's the perception of Pluto. It's that depth, that psychological penetrating depth, the ability to perceive deep below the surface, deep, deep, deep. However far back it is, right? Pluto's the most far back, the most far out planet of the main planets that we use. That's the depth of perception that you're getting with Pluto. So you're not getting any more depth than you will with Pluto, right? Pluto will give you the most depth of perception, the most psychological awareness, the ability to understand psychology, understand other people's psychology, the ability to understand people's psychology beyond what they understand about their own psychology. That's the power of Pluto. And with that power comes great ability to manipulate as well, right? If you understand somebody's psychology better than they understand their own psychology, you can manipulate them and they won't even know what's going on. So like things that come along with Pluto are things like narcissism, right? Potentially. or the ability to be like what they call like a psychopath. A psychopath isn't just somebody who lacks empathy. A psychopath is somebody who's deeply aware of how to control other people. Otherwise, they're just idiots. You know, they're petty criminals, right? That's not a psychopath. A psychopath is not just like a petty criminal who doesn't give a crap. He goes around shooting people and like robbing liquor stores and stuff like that. That's somebody who lacks empathy, but is not a psychopath. Psychopath is that Pluto, that psychological penetration without the empathy. Now, I'm not saying Pluto lacks empathy, but I'm saying that's one potential, that's one expression. Each planet has multiple expressions, right? The other potential for Pluto is very high spiritual development, because Pluto wants us to grow and evolve. Out of all the planets, Pluto is about that growth, that crisis, that transformation from butterfly into, I'm sorry, from butterfly into caterpillar, yes. The transformation from butterfly into caterpillar, yes. From you know, obviously from caterpillar into butterfly, right? The evolution from the scorpion to the snake to the eagle to the phoenix. That's the, you know, symbolic. That's what they say the transformative process is in Scorpio. That's the Plutonic urge, right? The deeper aspects of Scorpio are found in Pluto, right? So there's all this power and control and desire and crisis, you know, creation, destruction, death, and rebirth, right? With Pluto. If we're not fulfilling Pluto's mandate, you could say, Pluto will bring crisis into our life, wherever it is, however, you know, whatever sign and aspects, right? But if we are living on Pluto's terms, then that means constantly growing and evolving, constantly fighting. Pluto, inherent within Pluto is a kind of war and aggression, because it's fighting with the lower desires to overcome and transcend them, right? Sex and power, control and money and desire and, like, you know, manipulation of others and control. Pluto is more about control than any other planet, right? Controlling people, controlling things, controlling power. You know, and people with 8th house Pluto, Scorpio planets and signs, and, you know, dominant heavy, are going to be about control. They're going to be jealous. They're going to want to control others. They're going to want to manipulate others. There's that inherent tendency towards narcissism. And again, I even said, potential towards psychopathy. You know, don't take it the wrong way. I gotta be truthful. I gotta tell all sides of the coin. You know, it's just, you know, I won't feel like I'm doing my job as somebody who has Scorpio, 8th house, you know, Pluto aspects and whatnot. Also, my Virgo moon wants to tell the truth, wants to be accurate. So anyway, what is Libra? Libra are the scales of justice, right? The balance, the power. Power. The balance of power. You know, the law, the judge, the marketplace, also, because the scales are weighing two things, like when you're trading, exchanging. So like business and negotiations, relationships of all kinds, not just romance. Like, people focus way too much on romance. They think Libra, romance. No, it's like, I mean, yeah, there is that, but it's like, I don't know. You know, some people, that's basically their life. It's like they're just like serial daters, and so when they think Libra, they're just think, well, Libra's all about romance. And I'm not a serial dater, so I don't really. I mean, that's not, when I think about Libra, that's not really. It's about all kinds of relationships. It's about all kinds of equality and balance, and believe it or not, like social justice too, right? Because equality, right? People being treated fairly. And yeah, again, business, trade, and fairness, balance, law, right? So what happens when Pluto enters Libra? I mean, obviously, it's not going to be powerful like Pluto in Scorpio, and it's not going to be powerful like Pluto in Leo. I mean, those are the boomers and the millennials who are butting heads and fighting for power, you know. And the Gen Xers are in between, kind of like, looking at both of them like, what the fuck? We don't have that. I mean, Pluto in Scorpio is very powerful, don't get me wrong, but it's one-sided. I mean, Pluto already embodies all of Scorpio's traits. So it's not to in any way dismiss or discredit Pluto and Scorpio generation, but it's just kind of, it's flat. It's not multi-dimensional. Yeah, it's strong, but it's just like it's overemphasizing one thing. And Pluto and Leo is, I mean, these are the boomers. They all have like the gargantuan egos because all the power is, really concentrated in the Leo, the ego, the identity, the personality. These are very big people. Don't get me wrong. These are my parents, right? And probably a lot of your parents too. Or maybe even some of you who are listening. But anyway. Then in between, we obviously have the Pluto in Virgo generation, which was the 60s largely. And that we know that the Uranus was also there, and that we had the great conjunction in the middle of the 60s of Pluto and Uranus. And that sparked the whole hippie movement and era, which is a topic for another video. That was very powerful as well. And then the Pluto and Libra generation, like after all that, really exciting stuff and powerful stuff, sort of gets like we're the ones with the weak Plutos. But I want to put a different spin on that because Pluto's not as powerful in Libra, but Libra is way more powerful with Pluto in it. Maybe you didn't think about that, but we have a very powerful Libra. The people with Pluto in Libra have very, very powerful Libra sign. And that actually is something like our sense of fairness and balance and equality and justice and social justice. And I'm not talking about, this modern term, these social justice warriors, which is very contrived. It's very inorganic. Like you could trace it back to like big money, George Soros, and social engineering, cultural Marxism, and all that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about real social justice, real political, social change and justice. And you only have to look back to the 70s to get an idea of what that is about. I was born in 76. I'm a bicentennial baby. So, I mean, I get it. I mean, that spirit is alive with me. I don't remember actually the 70s, but a lot of the 70s music and themes and ideologies I embody and I studied and I listened to in the music. So I understand it a lot of it. And that's where you get really strong political, well, you had it in the 60s, but in a much more aggressive way, you had it in the 70s. This strong social political message about inequality and justice and fairness and balance. I mean, that's what gave birth to the whole punk rock movement. Now, punk wasn't just influenced by Pluto and Libra. Pluto and Libra was a big influence, one of the main ones in the punk rock movement. And that was hugely about calling out all the injustices in society, in politics, and not in some sort of top-down, contrived, big money way where they're calling the shots, and you just have like a bunch of mindless parrots echoing whatever they the people on the top want them to. This is organic, grassroots, and the reason you know that is because you have all these punk kids basically standing up to the injustices and even arguing amongst themselves about what was the right way and the wrong way, and what was what kind of message they wanted to spread. I mean, just for example, you had one of the big punk bands, The Clash, who were singing about their version of social injustice. Then you had this rival band who wasn't as big, but in the punk movement were very well respected, and they were Crass. And they were constantly, criticizing The Clash for their political, social views. So this was not top-down control. This was bottom-up, organic, grassroots, real, alive political activism, right? And a lot of these punk rock, you know, groups and communities were very active in social change and transformation and standing up to, you know, for what is right. And so that is very much Pluto and Libra. And I know I have Pluto and Libra, and I feel that I've always embodied that from all the way, even way back when I was a teenager. Um, you know, these things were very important to me, like being able to really see through the lies. That's Pluto's specialty, seeing through the lies of society, of the media, of the, you know, medical industry, of the pharmaceutical industry, of the politics, all of it. You know, Pluto can penetrate and see through it. Pluto in Libra is excellent at calling out all the bullshit in society. You know, so real social change is coming from the Pluto and Libra generation. Not to diminish Pluto and Virgo generation. That has its own, you know, they started it, but Pluto and Libra is continuing it. You know, way more than Pluto and Scorpio, I have to be honest with you, because I mean, not to dismiss them, but the Scorpio isn't really focused on social issues. It's just much more about whatever it's about. It's about sex and power, and so it's not. It doesn't have. It's not pointed, because Pluto in Scorpio is just like flat. Like I said, there's no dimension to it. It's just all about like sexual liberation and you know, being powerful voices and, you know, egotism, control, and a lot of narcissism. So, and again, I don't want to diminish their generation. This is not to put down any generation, but you get a lot like, oh, Pluto and Scorpio is so powerful. Yes, it's also flat and boring. Pluto and Libra is very multidimensional and alive, and excellent at you know, seeing through the lies of society and seeing through all the bullshit and creating real change. A lot of the movers and shakers that we have today calling out the bullshit are the Pluto and Libra generation, Gen X. I mean, I don't have a lot of examples offhand, but just one. And there's, you know, there's many factors that go into this, but, you know, Alex Jones is Pluto and Libra, right? Yeah, and then there's going to be many other people. A lot of the social media, you know, alternative social media who are being, and it's multi-generational. I'm not trying to single out, you know, being like Pluto and Libra are the only ones. Like I said, Pluto and Virgo, Pluto in Leo, they're all taking their part. They're all playing a part. But Pluto and Libra is very, very excellent at really standing up for equality and seeing the bullshit and all of it. And yeah, we're the generation that is going to, or has already redefined relationships. You know, we're not going to be confined to traditional stereotypes and norms when it comes to relationships. A lot of the Pluto and Libra generation grew up in broken homes, divorced parents, things like that. Also, you know, Venus ruling Libra, fashion is a big thing for Pluto and Libra. And if you look back to the 70s, I mean, again, especially going into the punk rock movement, we completely obliterated the whole idea of fashion. It was just like tore it up, threw it in the trash, and, you know, set it on fire. Like it was just anything goes. We completely blew it open, wide open, right? You know, the wild hair, the mohawks, wearing, you know, ripped, torn clothes, leather jackets, painted on everything, you know, all the piercings, all that really came into fashion with Pluto and Libra. Yeah, I mean, also, I mean, there are a lot of influences again, like Uranus and Scorpio, heroin. But heroin was around before then, so you can't just blame it on drugs. But yeah, what else? All right, I mean, I want to share my screen for a minute just to get another dimension. I got this cool new software. I want to show off a little bit. Astro Gold for Mac. Very beautiful looking, very beautiful interface. And the reason I was putting it off for so long is because I felt it like all the astrology software were overpriced and I didn't want to pay for it. And there, yeah, you can do a few more things than you can with Astrodyne's, website, but however you pronounce it. But it's still a trade-off for me. I'm like, did I really want to pay that much money for just a few cool, nifty things that I can do? I finally did. So whatever, I have it. Can't go back now. But yeah, anyway. So here I have it where Pluto first enters Libra in October 5th, 1971, and I made it Pluto right on the ascendant. Pluto actually enters Libra, I think, a few hours earlier, but I wanted to have it on the ascendant so we could look at a Pluto chart, Pluto and Libra chart, which is I think is interesting. And what's really interesting is like this whole stellium of Libra with Mercury and Sun and Uranus and Venus. Venus obviously rules Libra, so that strengthens it a lot. Sun is debilitated in Libra, but it's strengthened by Venus here, which is not too far away. And also it gets an aspect from Chiron in Aries, it's exaltation. It's a full moon, moon's in Aries, and moon is not to the degree opposite the sun, but it is getting an aspect from that. So sun is strengthened by these Aries planets. It's also strengthened by a good aspect from the south node, 1 degree in Leo. So sun is doing okay. It's not terrible here in Libra. Uranus also is really interesting in Libra, especially because one of the reasons is that in esoteric astrology, Uranus rules Libra. And if you think that's totally wacky and like you can't make sense of that, because Uranus rules Aquarius in regular exoteric astrology, I guess it's called, just astrology. In esoteric astrology, Uranus rules Libra, and if you think about that, it does make sense because I know this is going off on a tangent, but I want to say it anyway. Libra's all about balance and peace and fairness. And Uranus is that bolt of lightning, the bolt of inspiration. And that's actually a really great combination because when things are at total peace, that's when you can have really great penetrating insights. And this brings me to another aspect of Pluto and Libra. Libra is often considered like the people pleaser, right? Being so social, so sophisticated and diplomatic, and like just wanting like a yes man or yes woman, right? Just saying yes to please people because it's just like it wants that peace and that equilibrium and the balance, and it's reluctant to disturb the peace. Pluto's like fuck the peace, fuck the peace. Like we're gonna destroy the peace. We're not gonna keep the peace, even with Pluto and Libra. We're gonna destroy the peace. That's what's beautiful about Pluto and Libra. It's like, yeah, we are all about peace. We're all about balance. We're all about fairness. But we're gonna the system to get there. We're gonna destroy shit. We're gonna set it on fire. We're gonna blow it up, and then that's how we're gonna get peace. We're gonna get peace at the end, but we're not afraid to fuck shit up to get there, right? Just one example is what's his name? Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle has Libra ascendant with Pluto in Libra, right? And Dave is obviously hilarious, and he can be very diplomatic. Like if you hear him talking, like he's like actually very well spoken, and he's like he really like he's very fair and balanced. But like try and control him, see what happens, right? He'll quit his show. He'll quit his own show if you try and control him. And he said that, right? And I said this in another video, but I'll say it again. Like there's a video with him being interviewed by Oprah, and he's going through. He's like, you know, when you get to a certain level of success, they try and control you. And he's like, you know, I can't remember what he said, but like that's when he destroyed. That's when he quit the show, and the show ended right in the middle. Like that's Pluto, right? Not afraid to disturb the peace. That's what's beautiful about Pluto and Libra. Another example, you know, the whole, like, he's speaking the truth about the, you know, the whole social Marxism and cultural Marxism, and the, you know, the you know, the trans bullies who are, don't let you say anything about trans that they don't approve of, right? And he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna say the truth. I'm gonna tell the truth. I'm gonna tell the truth the way I see it. That's Pluto in Libra. Diplomatic, but we'll fuck shit up to get to their, you know, the ultimate goal of peace. You know, it's like, you know, I heard Mars in Libras is, I've heard people say that's like, you know, the combination of fighting for peace. Well, maybe not. I guess it probably depends on who's Mars and Libra. A lot of times Mars and Libra doesn't do anything really. It's too weak, but I guess it depends how it's aspected and everything else. But Pluto and Libra, actually way more, I think, is really about fighting for peace. And so that again is another aspect of Pluto and Libra. We're the true social justice warriors in the real sense. Like it's kind of become a derogatory term, like SJW, like these you know, like these kind of like weak, you know, effeminate, like people who can't really think, you know, like Antifa. They're just Antifa, I'm sorry, yeah, they're really aggressive, but they're just following orders. They're mindless puppets. They're dummies, right? The real change makers are the Pluto and Libra generation. Again, not only the Pluto and Libra. I don't want to say it's just Pluto and Libra, but Pluto and Libra we are a big force in that, because that psychological penetrating, you know, fierceness from Pluto is in the balance and peace and fairness of Libra, you know. So we're going to use that power for Libra balance, you know, that justice. We're going to fight for justice. Libra's the law, right? Saturn's exalted in Libra. Saturn is the enforcement of the law. Libra is the sign of balance and fairness and justice. So we're going to, you know, so from that perspective, I mean, I think you can see Pluto and Libra, and you know, way better than it's just all about like Pluto's weak in Libra and it's just all about relationships, like some of these people are saying. I don't think that's fair. Yeah, we have the diplomacy, but we also have the Pluto. Libra is incredibly strong with Pluto and Libra. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. Also notice that I don't know how much this has an influence on Pluto and Libra, because this is the original ingress of Pluto and Libra. But Jupiter is in Sagittarius, its domicile, along with Neptune, which both co-rule Pisces. So that's kind of a harmonious, really interesting aspect combination. North Node with Mars is also very powerful. And you know, not weak in the least. It's almost like super intense, especially in Aquarius, very scientific, you know, very Martian, scientific, technical gadgetry, you know, and you know, technical, mechanical. Moon in Aries, very aggressive. Saturn in Gemini, very scientific. So I mean, if this was somebody's chart, you know, I would be like, pretty damn strong, really, overall. South Node in Leo, North Node in Aquarius. You know, stellium in the first house. I think all these things are really, you know, adding up to the Pluto and Libra generation. So anyway, guys, that's it for this Pluto and Libra video. Look at this grand water trine. I mean, that's pretty excellent. Mercury in Libra, Saturn. And then Mars, Sun. Mars trine Sun, that's excellent. I mean, this is pretty strong. And then you got this so-called mystic rectangle. I don't know why it's mystic, but it's a rectangle. Anyway, full moon. It's a good chart, so anyway, I think that's it. I hope you found this interesting. If you'd like the book of reading, go to my website, macroastrology.com, or email me at macrogoldmachine@yahoo.com. It's just like it sounds, macro gold machine. Large gold machine. That's what that means. Anyway, I will see you again. All right. Thanks. Bye.